Nathan's got 2 more weeks to get big, and he's still fucking small.
Mate, actually, when I was in the
Oh, shut up.
when I was in the gym changing rooms last night.
Welcome back, guys, to the TRP, and today we're going to ask the question: is university worth it? So, Nathan, you've recently graduated. Was it worth it?
It's a big question, man.
It is.
Is uni worth it? Well, I think they mug you off with the fees to some extent.
Extortionate fees.
Yeah, but if you go right back to the start, so let's start with the start of our journey.
Yeah.
Into university. So obviously, what was I? I was early 20s, and I was very down in the dumps. I got kicked out of school a few years prior.
Sixth form.
That
was a write-off, wasn't it?
To be fair, I actually did a fucking double whammy. I got kicked out year 11, and then to be fair to the school, they gave me a second chance. And then I got
That's the thing. I was a good student until I got in sixth form with you boys.
Yeah.
And it went south very quickly.
Yeah, we derailed your
I was the last man standing, though.
It was you and Gav, wasn't it?
I forgot about that guy. Yeah. So basically, there was like 5 of us. Obviously,
no, it was 6, man.
Was there 6?
Yeah.
All right, there were 6 of us. Obviously, we'd all like knew each other from playing football and all that. And when you get 5 guys and Gav, we're saying Gav is the 6th guy, right?
Yeah.
Because Gav wasn't really part of our group.
Oh yeah. Oh right. You're right. Yeah, you got a good point there.
So like Gav, basically. Should we really talk about Gav?
Why? He probably doesn't fucking listen. No, but Gav probably should have been doing A-levels.
Yeah,
because he was quite a smart guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he was from a completely different background. So we're all like working class kids. Gav is I would say, upper working class to middle class.
Don't know, maybe.
He was definitely from a better background than us. But he was obviously put into our group because he didn't do A-level straight away.
Yeah.
So we kind of like corrupted that guy, really. And when you, like I said, when you got like 5 like guys who like fuck around with football.
To be fair, we were fucking idiots. But what I would say, I can remember the teacher saying to him, she's like, "What are you doing hanging around with these boys? You're better than this."
Yeah, because we were animals. Like we were just, we were creatures, man. We were.
Yeah, we did used to do some bad things, to be fair. And at that point, I did not ever, see myself going to university. Because I knew I was going to get kicked out of that school. I was just basically a sort of a...
Well, that was one of the problems, wasn't it? Because like we're all there, but we're just there to have a laugh like it's year 7 again.
Yeah, but the thing is, we do bizarre things that I can remember. It was the last lesson. Like, none of us had a lesson.
Yeah.
But for some reason...
A lot of free periods, wasn't there?
Yeah, but there was there's a PE lesson going, I don't know, like year 8s or something, in the sports hall. And we just said, should we just go and hide in the fucking behind all the gym mats? And we just all hid in there. And then, like, at the end of the lesson, got caught by the PE.
Wasn't Drakey shouting shit as well, wasn't he? He was making noises or something.
Something like that, man. But, like, I don't know. The thing is, we used to just do just absolute nonsense, like just such stupid things. And obviously just... Anyway, so obviously, we all got kicked out of college, kicked out of sixth form. I kind of stepped out of education for about 5-6 years, just doing jobs that were not fulfilling. I'll just say that. And eventually I got to a point and I was just like, I can't remember who it was, but I remember speaking to a guy I worked with, and he was like in uni, and I was like, fucking hell, I thought he's got a bit about him, do you know what I mean? And he's going places. And I was just thinking...
Was this in Tesco?
No, it wasn't Tesco at that point. Because I worked for... I was on the phone selling car insurance, and I hated that. And then I went to work in a hotel, and I hated that. And then I went to work in a shop. In a shop. I can't remember where it was.
Co-op.
Yeah, it was Co-op. You're right. And it was there, and I met this guy, and he was in uni, and he was like he just had a lot about him. He seemed very positive, and he seemed like he was going places. Do you know what I mean? And I was thinking, I want a piece of that life, man. And I was thinking, right, how am I going to get to that position? How am I going to become or find a more fulfilled life? So I just literally sat on my phone one day in the canteen, and just thought, fuck it, I'm going to look for a college course. And then I looked, and I was like, obviously I didn't have any GCSEs, so I was like, I'm going to have to reset those first. So applied for them, and well, I made an application to the local college. And about 6 months later, it was September, and it was the first day. And I was like, not gonna lie,
was you bricking it?
That first moment going in there, I was very nervous because I must have been like 22, something like that. And
I'd been out the game for a while.
I've been out the game a while, man. Yeah. And it was nervy, man. But to be fair, I went in there and like there was some people who just come out of school, and there was some people who were old. There was people who were like 10, 15 years older than me, mind.
And your last experience was Jamie Goddard saying, "Get the fuck out of the common room."
Why are we name dropping here? Yeah, but you are right.
Is that not true?
No, my last experience, was me getting whipped out the door. To be fair, that was quite a funny story though, because I'll quickly tell that story, but then I'll go back into my college experience. But so what I'd done is there was the headmaster. He had
John Barnbrook.
Well, he was bold.
What a guy he was.
He was a sick guy, I really liked him actually. But yeah, he was bold.
The hair was going,
Yeah, but at that point there was this advert, L'Oreal, because I'm worth it. That was on on the TV.
Right, where's this going?
This is what I did that got me expelled.
Okay.
So I mean, I've done a lot of things prior to this, but this is a very immature thing for a sixth form student to be doing. But I just put a picture of John Barnbrook in the middle of the. I was on Microsoft Word. I put a picture of John in the middle. And it was just L'Oreal, because I'm worth it, underneath.
Right.
And I'd done a little slogan underneath, like, I can't remember what I said at the bottom, but I basically printed off like 200 of these and just stuck them all around the school. And I just, the one thing that still makes me laugh about that is I hit his face when he saw the first poster, and then he saw the next one, and the next one, and the next one.
The rage is just building as he's like, ripping them down. Like.
And then he must have gone through CCTV and seen me
find the culprit.
I mean, I still don't know to this day why I did that, but I suppose to try and make people laugh, and I suppose if you're a year 7 or year 8, that might be relatively funny, but it's a bit immature for a sixth form student.
Yeah, Barnbrook was an interesting guy, because if he liked you, but you were you were naughty, he would still treat you with respect, and that's what happened with like Watson.
Yeah, he was the same towards me, man. He was very, he was just always really sound with me, even though I do some things which were like pretty bad. I get called to his office and he'd just be like, "Why now, Nath?" And he'd just sit there and he's like, I was almost like you're just having a chat and a chill, and I was like,
yeah, you could get him on a level, couldn't you? Do you know what I mean? So,
but yeah, so that basically eventually got me kicked out. I think it was a totaling up sort of thing. I'd done a lot.
That was the nail in the coffin, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'd done a lot of things prior to that. But anyway, so then I find myself that first day in college, and I think it was, I think I spoke about this earlier in the podcast. I think it was episode 1, about how that initial period, and they asked me to write this little essay, and honestly, man, I couldn't even string sentences together.
Yeah.
I remember reading it back and I was like embarrassed. I was embarrassed, handed it in. It was only 300 word essay. But like it was an eye opener, man, to how little I had actually done in school. And there's so many variables to why that was. But I worked, I'm not going to lie, I worked my ass off in college, because I was like, I just don't want to keep going. Because what I was doing is, and I think loads of people will relate to this, is I was just job bouncing. Just bouncing from one job to the next, hoping that there'll be some element of fulfillment within that role. But like, I knew I wanted more from life. And I think as much as I criticize our education system to a varying degree, I think the one element about it that I'm very positive about is the fact that it does give you a second chance.
Oh, it does. There's
lots of courses, isn't there, that you can go and do that. And listen, going to uni doesn't have to be the end goal. It could be anything, man. It could just be just to fucking boost your confidence.
But sometimes it's just getting the wheel turning again and building momentum. Because if you've been static like job hopping, because I did the same thing, your brain just feels like it's shrinking, like, and you know it, you should be improving as you get older. You should be getting smarter. You should be thinking about new things. You should be challenging yourself. And when you're not, it doesn't feel very nice. And eventually, you've got to do what you did, and either like sign up to a course or find a job that's going to provide some kind of training and a alternative pathway for your development. And obviously, like, a lot of companies do give opportunities, but it's always about them, isn't it, versus your development and your education and what they can get out of you. I did the same thing, man. Like, when I was in the call center, looking at these like possible jobs, possible like opportunities, and just dealing with people's like data, you could see what their occupations were, what sort of salary they were on, and I was like, yeah, like I need to be doing something better. So I did the same thing. I started looking at courses and trying to find a way back into education, because the last I saw was also Jamie Goddard saying, "Get the fuck out of the common room."
Yeah, whipped you out of the room. Do you know the one thing I want to say why I think not necessarily uni. I mean, I personally think uni is worth it, and obviously we'll explore why. But the one thing I'd say about college, and that's those second chances, is what it taught me is that intelligence is not fixed. Because when I left school, I had a firm belief that intelligence is fixed, and I was often referred to as the dumb one, because my brother was an intelligent guy and he'd done well. He had actually gone to uni, done his A levels.
Yeah.
He then went and did a master's, and he's got a good job, and he's an intelligent guy. But obviously I dropped out with nothing, and there was, when you compare in that setting, when you compare him, who's kind of flown through, done really well, and then there's me, the dropout. I even thought I was the dumb one. I thought I was stupid, and then when I went back to college and realised intelligence is not fixed, man.
No.
And I think that we live in a society that almost promotes the idea that it is. I don't like that idea that people are smart or they're stupid.
I think one of the problems is a lot of people go off on what other people say. So I've got friends that haven't been to university, and I could make out like I'm super smart and I'm super academic, and they would believe all that shit because they've never been in that environment. As soon as you get to university, you realise that actually not everyone here is a natural academic.
No.
And people are good at different things. People have different strengths. There are people like on my course that are like super smart, but they wouldn't be able to articulate that in front of like 100 people, whereas other people they're great speakers, they're great communicators. Do you see what I mean? So everyone's been dealt different cards, but you got to kind of work on your weaknesses. Like my weakness was like academia, which now I'm working on. Do you see what I mean? Whereas like as long as I know a subject, I'm happy to go and speak to people and speak out loud, but I got to be confident in what I know, and then that comes from academia. So that's what I've had to go back to. But I completely get it. Like, when we got booted out of sixth form, my experience at university was from the girls that I was dating. I didn't know about that world.
How many were you dating?
Why are we getting into figures, man?
Listen, we got to keep statistics realistic.
But come on, I can't think back to like when I was 18.
All right, sorry.
All I'm saying is when you've got your driver's license, you got a dating app, you got a smartphone, you start racking up some numbers. All right, that's all you need to know. Yeah, you know the recipe.
All right, so
don't pretend you don't know the recipe. Every guy listening to this knows the recipe, so don't pretend you don't know the recipe.
Is that all you need for the recipe?
Pretty much, yeah. Obviously, some fuel in the car, which is, fuel price has gone up, but back then you fill up on like 30 quid.
And if you haven't got a driver's license, just set your perimeter.
It doesn't work with a push bike. There's things you can't do on a push bike that you can do in a car. Do you know what I mean?
You can't be showing up to a date on a push bike.
No. But yeah, I was learning through them. So I was kind of like it's kind of like secondhand information, but I'm absorbing. So I'm dating these girls. Most of them are in university. I'm actually speaking to them and inquiring on their courses. They have no idea that actually I'm building up a blueprint in my head of my plan of what I'm going to study. So that's why, like, originally I applied to study psychology, and I got in at Greenwich Uni. That was from my experience with like dating girls that had studied that subject, and I was really interested in it. And then I didn't start the course because I then listened to someone else. And this is what you shouldn't do. Do not listen to someone else who's done that degree and then not got a job and gone, okay, well, they didn't get a job, so I'm not going to do that course. Because that's what I did with psychology.
Yeah.
So I was all set to go and start at Greenwich, and then I bailed out before I had to pay the fees because I knew like 2 people that had done the degree and then ended up in like a retail job. But now I know that actually, because one girl that I know that has done that degree, she's now studying to be a clinical psychologist and got on a doctorate program, which will then provide a great salary.
Class.
So it's all about like individual experiences, because that one person who went and did the psychology degree, I mean, they might have just brushed through it and, you know, been a laid back student and just got like the minimum grade, and then they're not proactive of when they leave. Because when the thing is, when you do those types of degrees that don't lead straight into a career like nursing or medicine, you need to be proactive, especially like in your final year, thinking, okay, well, I need to start applying for jobs, I need to apply for experience, I need to build myself up so that when this degree comes to an end, we don't just fall back into Tesco or, you know, a retail job or somewhere you don't want to be. Do you see what I mean? So that's one like lesson that I learned, man, is like not to go off other people's experiences, because their experiences and yours are going to be different.
Oh, hugely, man.
Because they might not have been that driven. Do you know what I mean? Like, they might have come from a place where, you know, everything's comfortable, relaxed, and, you know, there's not a lot on the line here because I've got comfort, versus like you, for example, where, you know, there's a lot riding on this. You've got siblings to look after. Do you see what I mean? So it's all circumstantial.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think you've summed that up really well. I think you can get lost, I think, in listening to other people's experiences, and the same with us. Like, you know, my experience at university is a very positive one, but I acknowledge that, you know, even on my course, like, I witnessed people quit the course because they weren't enjoying it, quit the course because they didn't feel like it was what they thought it was going to be. Do you know what I mean? So it's like,
but that's a good point, because quitting sometimes is the right thing to do.
For sure.
I know students that have got into a shitload of debt, where if they'd have called it off early, like I did with Greenwich, because I knew, like, yes, I was interested in psychology. I was put off by other people not getting a job, but was I interested enough to take that risk? Probably not. And that's why, you know, I didn't go and I started looking at other degrees. But yeah, knowing when to quit is vital as well. But then sometimes you get people who just quit too early.
Oh yeah, you can't be fucking throwing a towel in too early, man.
Some people quit after a week. It's like you haven't get, you know.
Well, it worked for Stephen Bartlett.
Yeah, but like, you've got to, unless you know the content that's coming, perhaps he knew like what was.
But to be fair though, he's an outlier, man. Like, how many people go on and achieve what he's achieved?
Yeah.
So you can't really compare his life to others. I think where it comes to, you know, is uni worth it? Really is such a personal question. Now, for me, obviously, I said that I was in college and I started to, you know, the first thing I realized was actually intelligence wasn't fixed. And do you know what else that really, really like has changed my life? I met like so many amazing people.
Same, man.
Honestly, like, there was a guy I met and he'd served in the army, I think, for like 15 years.
Yeah.
And he'd finished in the army and he just wanted to go and explore a new career. And he'd had so much life experience, and I was just like, I learned so much from him, tours where he'd been, and there was like single mothers on my course who were, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years older than me, who just wanted to create a new future for them and their children. And I just thought, that's fucking amazing. And there was people younger than me who just wanted, who like maybe had failed in school and wanted a second chance. And it was just such for me, an enriching environment. And it just completely changed my whole outlook on life. It really did. So I think, you know, for some people,
yeah,
like, they think education is, you know, is is bullshit. We're all taught the same thing, and like some of us don't.
Well, it's more than just exams and, you know, turning up to a class.
Big time.
It is like when they say you get out of it what you put in, it's very true. Because if you just isolate yourself and you know, you do the minimum and you just pass, then that's what you're going to get. Whereas if you engage with other people that you may not normally talk to,
Yeah,
like when
100%.
I went to college in London, it was a completely different experience from our school. So that was the first time I returned to education, would have been like 2012 or 2013. So like we were like early 20s, and it was a different place. It was a different demographic. So most of the people in that college in Tottenham were either like black or Asian. The whites were the minority in that college. So I was put in a class where I'm the minority, and it completely changed my perspective. And when you start speaking to people from, you know, different backgrounds, from different faiths, you learn so much, and it gives you a lot of confidence. Because before I went to that college, like think about school, for example, right? Could you remember anyone in our school who was from the Muslim faith? Did anyone believe in Islam in our school? I can't think of one person.
Off the top of my head, I can't. There may be someone,
Yeah,
but, you know, my
I mean, there
memories.
were some other faiths. Like I remember one lad was a Jehovah's Witness, but I don't ever remember anyone Muslim in our school. Whereas like this college, I got to interact with people like that for the first time, and I learned so much from those people. And now I'd be very confident in speaking to people from any faith. Whereas before, I'd be very edgy about people who believe in different things to myself. That's like a side thing that you can get from going into education. It's
another form of education.
Yeah, it's another form of education that you're getting for free.
Exactly.
If you put yourself out there and engage with those people.
100%, man.
And you never know, because later down the line, you might be in a position where you might have a business, but what's stopping you getting a deal over the line is because you don't understand these people or where they're coming from or what they believe in. Whereas actually, if you'd engage with them back in college, or when you had the opportunity to mix with different people, you'd have a better understanding of them and what they want out of life.
100%.
So then you could be, you're doing yourself a disservice really if you don't engage with people from different walks of life. And that could be anything. It doesn't have to be religion, race. It could be wealth. It could be anything.
Privilege, yeah. One of the things I think that's really positive about going into education post, you know, when you're forced to, is that very often you're surrounded by people that have a desire to want to grow. Like there's the actual culture and environment, most people there, I think, they want to better themselves. And that you can feed off that. And when I look back into when I was in those jobs that I, prior to going back into to education, the culture and environment, you know, I worked loads of jobs, and there was a constant pattern of people that genuinely weren't very happy in that environment, genuinely complained a lot, genuinely, I don't know, just there wasn't a sense of wanting to grow. It's just a sense of not having given up as such, but there's, I don't know, I think sometimes that environment like disables you somewhat.
Oh, it does massively, because if you have a group of people that are negative all the time, they don't want anything out of life, they're always complaining and do nothing about their situation, of course that's infectious. That's going to bring you down as well. Versus if you go back to college or university or even like some kind of educational program, the chances are you're going to get like-minded people and you're all rowing in the same boat. You're all going to the same destination.
100%.
And if you row together, you get there quicker, right?
100%.
That's just it. That's just it. Or you know, you go in.
So
I don't want to bash Tesco, but you go in the canteen and like at some job that like no one's happy in on like night shifts. Of course, you're not going to be happy. You're working 9 hours a night shift, you know, and you've been doing it for 5-10 years. Of course, you're going to be miserable. But like those people suck the life out of you, man, and you can easily be consumed by them.
Yeah, I think the difficulty is, though, it's like the longer you remain in an environment, I think the less you become aware of it. And what I mean by that
Yeah,
is
because it erodes everything. It erodes your self-esteem. It erodes your confidence. I bet half the people that go into those jobs, like to begin with, are probably way more positive and optimistic about the opportunities that the company are selling them. And 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and then they're a different person.
But the real point I want to make, and I made this post, about my graduation the other day, is that honestly, like what I did, what you did, what everyone on our courses did.
Yeah.
There's nothing special about us.
No, there's not.
We're
not.
We're no different from anybody who's like anybody can go and do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I don't know. It feels like there is I talked about intelligence not being fixed. Because honestly, if you'd have seen me at 22 or 21,
he was thin as fuck. Oh, is that not what we're talking about? Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I was thin. But anyway, we're not discussing that. I love how you got to bring that up every episode. But anyway, but I was, I wouldn't have perceived myself as that intelligent.
You were 2D, not physically. Well, that as well, but your thinking was 2D.
Yeah, it probably was, man. And I had such low self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly just thought I was like, I mean, a lot of that was not related to the education system. It was my environment. But
yeah,
but at the same time, I don't know. I think it's very easy for you to forget that you're exactly the same as everybody else. You can go and do what everyone else has done, and I think I wish people would just believe in themselves a bit more. As cliche as it sounds,
yeah,
I wish people would just believe in them.
The difficulty is, it's like when you return to education, like when you get, you go to college, you get on an access program, and you're seeing people that have got kids. I know we kind of overphrase it, but like the single mother situation when you got like women who got multiple kids, but they're juggling everything, and then you see them and they go and smash that diploma, and then they go and smash their degree. Like there's people on my diploma now, because my degree's 5 years. The people that I was in college with have already graduated because their degree's 3 years. So just seeing them come through is amazing, and then you look at the people around you that complain, who are sometimes in a better position than they were when they started, and you think there's no excuse. And that it's kind of hard, because me and you've had that conversation before, is mindset a privilege and the way we think? Potentially it is. But
I think that that whole element, I think I jump in and out of it, but I do think there is an excuse, man, because if we were all born into the same environment, in the same, given this, I suppose we do to some extent have the same opportunities, but it's just too many elements of that you need to assess. It's not as simple as
no, but it's hard. I don't think we've worked it out yet whether it is or not. But the reason I say that is because my niece a couple of years ago was about to do her GCSEs, and I said to her, if you need any help, just ask me, because I know how to pass the exam. I know what it looks like, right? Whereas her mum didn't finish education, so she doesn't know what it looks like. And she said, yeah, that's fine. So I said, just make sure you message me when it comes to revising, and I'll help you. And then she didn't message me, and then she failed her exams. And then I asked her, why did you fail? And she said, because I'm stupid like mum. Right? So that's a self-fulfilled prophecy. And that's a problem. And even though I tried to motivate her, and I understand where she lives in Wales, it's not a great place. It's quite impoverished, and there are people all live in a certain level of life with a lack of education and finances and resources. There's a lot of addiction up in the valleys as well, and all of these, going back to your point where when birds of a feather flock together, you're either stronger or weaker depending on the mentality of the group. That's the problem she's in, because she's surrounded by negativity. There's no one finishing school up there. There's no one going to university. There's no one having a great career in anything. There's just addiction and poverty and foolishness. And it's how do you motivate someone like her when the environment's just so consuming, and then it's like, is it her choice? Is it her mindset? Or is it the environment? And it's like, because me and you have come from the same place, but we've managed to do it. So that's when you ask, is it like, why aren't our siblings, or like my siblings why aren't they doing it then, if mindset isn't, already fixed?
Our mindset's definitely not fixed. I think I just think there's so many elements to it. And the thing is, I don't think everyone needs a great career. To some extent, it's difficult, because then part of me thinks you need to, it's so hard, man, because there's so many variables.
Yeah.
And you talk about kind of like your niece and you saying to her, well, offering her help, but then there's so many things in life where people get offered help, but they don't necessarily access that help, and it's not as simple as they didn't want it.
But I feel that's because of there's just the lack of self-belief that I could actually go and do that. And the reason I say that is because I felt like that when we got kicked out of sixth form, and when I was dating those girls that were in uni, part of me was like, I don't think I could do what they're doing, because I got booted out, and Jamie Goddard said, get the fuck out the common room, right? So that was still in my head. Do you see what I'm saying? But then when you start taking the small steps and you build, you get the wheel turning, that's when the confidence builds, and you go, oh, actually, when I pass that, I can do the next thing, and I can do the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing.
I'm just conscious of the element of criticizing anybody, because people like your niece, everybody reacts better to being praised. And you start focusing on the little good things that's going on in someone's life. And psychologically, we all respond better to praise than we do to criticism. However, the natural human reaction is to jump to criticism. You think about it, man, and on almost every element of your life, whether it's your partner, in work, with your friends. You've criticized me numerous times in this conversation. And I know that you're being humorous, but, it's very rare that you'd praise me for something. Do you see what I'm saying? And I did
congratulate you on your graduation.
I appreciated that. But my point is a valid one. I'm only saying this. I'm reading a book at the moment, exploring that and exploring why it's not there, mate. But I'm exploring that. And I think I'm very conscious of criticism. I've been guilty of it in my life, just criticizing anyone, criticizing people in jobs, criticizing partners, whatever.
Yeah.
And very often it has the adverse effect, even when you're trying to be constructive within your criticism. And I think, if somebody wants to better their life, it might not happen first time round. It might not happen till they're 25 or 35. Do you know what I mean? And I think if it doesn't happen for someone first time round, so what? I think it will come when it's supposed to come. And I just really, that's something as I'm getting older, I just want to really be conscious of criticizing people and criticizing situations.
Yeah, it's tough because you don't know what that person's going through, do you?
Exactly.
And it's very it's very easy to say to, let's just say, an alcoholic, just stop the drink, when you haven't lived that life, so you don't know, how hard it is to probably knock the drink off. Do you know what I mean? I think most people, we make quick judgments, don't we, and assessments on people based on our cognitive bias. So everything filters into your perception based on previous experience and what you've witnessed, and then your brain, it automatically creates a thought of, yeah, well, that person's like that because X, Y, and Z. But that's been built on experience of what you know, and similar situations or what you've witnessed. And sometimes we have to ignore that. There's not enough analytical thinking of, well, actually, let me ignore my bias, taking all the evidence and try and figure out what this person's actually about.
That's a good point, man. And I think that's one thing, I think that education taught me, is to think analytically, is to explore
big time, yeah.
Explore more than one idea.
And they pretty much teach that in every degree.
They do.
as a standard.
Yeah, and I think that when you look at the world we live in today, and you look at things like Prince Harry and the situation with him, where you're either a Prince Harry fan or you're not. You're
There's a
royal
left
fan.
and right to everything.
Yeah, or you're a Conservative voter or you're a Labour voter.
Yeah,
There's just not enough emphasis on the desire to be somewhere in the middle where you can see a perspective on both sides. And there's so much. People are so argumentative back. I mean, it's what we're fed on a daily basis, isn't it? You know, you only got to watch MPs' questions and Prime Minister's questions. Sorry, and it's like watching a playground, man. Like you just got this side and this side, and they're just going at each other. It's just bizarre, man.
Yeah, but again, that all comes back down to being socialized into a certain ideology, and then your cognitive bias just filters everything else out. But university tries to show you how to analytically think, to put your bias to one side and really observe what's going on. I think that's one of the key skills, isn't it? Because you can apply that to anything.
Yeah,
it's a good pro to go to university for that.
Definitely. And like when I look back, at my university experience, again, it was the same as college. I met a lot more people, obviously, on my course. I started by studying a primary education degree, so I was going to be a primary school teacher, but that didn't work out. So then I studied law, and it was quite a big cohort, and there was people from literally all over the world, man. And it was just so, I feel very blessed to have met some of the people I've met. And honestly, like, I was only chatting to one of my friends yesterday. I haven't seen her for a good few years, COVID and all that sort of thing. And like, I was talking about my graduation, and she was offering to help find me a job because she's already got like a training contract. And I was just like, I just don't remember when I was in work, like people wanting to help me like that. Just people just genuinely. And again, I think it comes from that idea of she wants to better herself. So there's an idea that she wants to. I'm not saying you need to go to uni for that. Of course you don't. But it was just a bit rarer, back then, because it just wasn't necessarily this perspective that people wanted to help you. And that was just, I really appreciate that. And I just feel very blessed to have met people from, literally all over the world, man.
Yeah.
With such great life stories.
Yeah, because you learn a lot from like those people and their experiences, and because you've all got a common goal, then the natural thing to do is to help one another. Like it's the same with my degree. Like we have a study group chat on WhatsApp, and everyone's there like trying to help each other. Do you know what I mean? So, as I said, you're all in the same boat, rowing to the same destination. So why wouldn't you want to help each other?
100%. You all want to get to that that
But
day.
you're not going to get that if let's just use the example of like when I worked on night shifts. There's no one coming to my aisle to help me, even if they've done their work. It's a different mentality, isn't it? Because you're not rowing to the same destination, because you're not really benefiting. Whereas like university is like a personal growth journey, isn't it? Whereas the supermarket is the destination, but like that's not connected to you, is it? That's them making their profits versus you as the employee who's just doing what you need to get your wage for that night. Do you get what I'm saying? So there's a very different mentality versus the people at university.
I think it can work for certain people
in some jobs, yeah. But
yeah, I see what you're saying. I see what
on
you're saying.
aisle 9 at 2 a.m. in the morning,
Yeah, and someone's
playing James Blunt. That's what they do as well. They love the depressing songs. I don't know why they do it, but
to
they
be
do.
fair, when I worked night shifts, they did used to.
Yeah,
they used to play
kills the
depressing.
morale, man. You got Stefan just trying to pump everyone up. It's like, bro, no one's here for that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
just get some fucking uplifting music on, like some Venga Boys or something,
Moving on. Yeah, moving on.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so I just think you need to just if I think the thing is, if you're in that environment and you're happy and you're living a good life and it serves a good purpose in your life, then fuck uni. Do you know what I mean? Who gives a flying fuck? But if you can relate to the position that we've been in that you feel a bit lost and happy and maybe just, I don't know, like you feel like you're lost at sea and you haven't got a paddle and you just have no idea where you're going, then I think education, not for everyone, but it can be a fantastic way for you to create new opportunities in your life, and gravitate towards something you actually enjoy, because there's so much options out there. Gravitate towards something
that is the key to passing a degree. You have to, an element of you has to enjoy what you're studying.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're not gonna have the motivation to put yourself through like hours of like in the library and then practicing what you need to do to pass the exam. That's just not gonna happen if you don't enjoy it, man. So like, it is key to like find a subject that you can enjoy and relate to.
Yeah. One thing I would say is the one con I think to universities currently is that they are becoming far more like businesses rather than educational establishments, in my opinion.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
And I think, you know, there's because like I can remember the one year I had a bit of an issue with student finance, and they were hammering me, the uni, like, we're going to kick you off the course if this money isn't paid. And I said, look, it's not fucking, it's obviously, well, you think I'm going to whip $9,000 out, mate? I said, I'm fucking working part-time in a supermarket, like I ain't got $9,000. But you know, eventually that got sorted. But like there is a real just drive for money, man. And that doesn't, I mean, to some extent it's a good thing, because I guess perhaps that makes you find the best lecturers. If you're going to pay the best money, you potentially might get the best lecturers. But then also, what's really important is it the education or the money?
Well, I think one really important point is to really research the modules of what your degree actually is and look at the credit system, like what are they actually crediting you for? And then you can weigh up the value of the actual degree if it's not something that leads directly into a career like medicine would or nursing. So if because there's so many degrees out there with these fancy titles that just do not hold up in the real world. So you really need to do your research on the modules, even the lecturers. Look at their backgrounds. You can see that now. It's all on like LinkedIn and everything. You can see what they actually qualified for, because I know like a lot of universities turnover sometimes is pretty high on the lecturers. So it's always worth looking at that as well.
I agree with you, but also disagree with you, because I don't think you always have to go to uni for the purpose of getting a job. Some people I met were just there to better themselves. Perhaps they maybe they didn't even need a job. Maybe they're already financially free. Maybe it's something you're doing part-time just because you enjoy it and you want to learn. I think sometimes when you attach the element of you have to get a job at the end, I could see why someone might find that demoralizing, because it places, like, sometimes you just want to learn for the sake of fucking learning. Do you know what I mean? And like, as much as I agree with you,
I hear your point.
I do agree with you. I think if you're doing it and you're thinking, right, I want to build a career, yes, of course you need to do your research, but everyone's motivations are different. Do you see what I'm saying? And I think, you know, like, there was a guy on my course, he must have been in his 70s, and he was clearly doing that as something, he just enjoyed it. And like, he was a sick guy. But yeah, I see what you're saying. I think obviously it's important to do your research, which you did, didn't you?
On what?
For your degree?
Of course, yeah.
Did a lot of research.
Yeah, well, I was going to study physiotherapy first, and the salary was okay, but to study for 3 years to then be on 23 grand, and when I compare that to one of my previous jobs at Brightside in a call centre, where you could earn 25k quite easily with bonus, and when you weigh that up, that kind of deterred me. So I'm very fortunate. I met a chiropractor when I was studying in Devon, and he told me what he was earning, and the contents of the course, and he pointed me in the right direction. And then I started having a look at where you can study chiropractic and who's teaching it, and yeah, I think I made the right decision.
Would you say you have healing hands?
I have been known.
But yeah, I think do your research or just go there and enjoy it. Simple as that. The one thing I want to finish with, we kind of draw this all to a close, is that I think I've obviously just graduated with a master's degree, which was one hell of a fucking journey. Obviously it's a difficult course to do, but obviously
there's been some turbulence.
Oh, immense turbulence, man. It was supposed to be a 1-year course, but it took me 3 years. And it had nothing to do with COVID. Just obviously I had a really difficult period and tried to go again. Had to quit again. And then I had to go again, and I finally done it, man. But I think again, even in that is a great.
There's a lot of resilience built now.
Yeah, resilience is built. Don't get me wrong, yeah, but like outside of a personal level, I think it's fantastic. They give you that opportunity. They acknowledge that, I think, and I think that not everybody is going to sail through first time, and there's options
and that's okay.
Yeah,
that is okay. But just don't quit, man. Just don't
quit.
If you started something, try and finish it. Because I personally think you will live in regret if you don't finish it.
Yeah, because it's like, obviously it's an overused saying, but like discipline's hard to develop. But when you've got to live with regret, I imagine that is 10 times worse.
Yeah, definitely, man.
And I'm very happy, because there was a period, man, where I was so close to quitting. But then I remember sitting there. It was just Wednesday, just gone. Sitting there in the audience, listening to just one of the professors giving a bit of a speech at the graduation ceremony. And I remembered that day where I was like literally about to send an email to my lecturer saying, look, I've just had enough. Like I don't want to do this anymore. For some reason I deleted it, but like now I was like, I just feel I have a lot of gratitude for the fact that I made that decision and kept going, because that graduation ceremony, I think, is a nice way to draw things to a close, man. And like now my life's like got a fresh new. Well, I just got loads of opportunities now, and I just go and explore a new chapter in my life. And I think, to sum up, if uni's worth it, I think it is. But again, it all comes down to your own personal circumstances, and we've explored why it might be good for you, might not be good for you. I imagine you share that perspective.
Well, yeah, like with my degree, it goes straight into like a specific career, and so for anyone who wants to do anything medical, it's great, and often it's the route you have to take because of the governing bodies that surround whatever subject you take. So whether medicine, like that's got one body, chiro's got one, nursing's got the Royal College of Nursing and all that. So yeah, I think it's a great idea, but if you're there just to get pissed up and get fucked up and snort a load of coke and shag a load of women, then just go to Butlins, man. they do an adult weekend. All right, just go to Butlins.
I mean, that's probably the worst advice I've ever heard you give, but yeah, if you just to be fair, man, whatever it is. But one thing I would say, what I want to close with, is if you're going.
That was the close.
What?
I thought that was the close.
No, there's just one more thing. If you're going to go just because, or if you're going to go based on someone else pressurizing you into it, and you're just doing it to please someone else, just don't. Wait till it comes from a place of like you genuinely wanting it. Do you know what I mean? Because otherwise it's a waste of your time, man. Can't live your life wanting to like please other people.
Yeah.
So, good luck with your last few years in uni, mate. I hope you can sort those healing hands out. And thank you everybody for watching and listening.
Give us a like and subscribe, because that's gone a little bit quiet.
And if you are about to explore your own journey back into education, good luck. And we'll see you
share in the comments.
And we'll see you next time on a Talking Reality podcast.